Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Secretary Blinken, for being here today, for your years of faithful service, for your testimony, for your budget requests that I support. I wanted to just start with Ukraine. So much of the focus has been on what's the needs of today. What does Ukraine need today? And I was just there in February with other members. But I want to clear up something by way of a simple comparison and contrast. There's been a lot of criticism today about Israel and the pause by the administration on the single shipment, 1,800, 2,000-pound dumb bombs. Does that pause put Israel at any risk of not being able to defend itself, of being short of the military equipment it requires?
It does not.
Not at all?
No.
Israel has what it needs?
Yes.
By contrast, as I said, I went to Ukraine in February. Right after we passed the supplemental, I could see in President Zelensky's eyes, in the generals and military members' eyes, that look of we're off the edge of desperation. Did the majority 6-month waiting to get the supplemental across, did that jeopardize Ukraine's ability to defend itself?
Well, I think for whatever the reason, the 6-month delay in getting the supplemental did have real consequences on the battlefield in terms of creating an environment in which Russia could do more damage to Ukraine. Now, happily, the supplemental is there. It was approved on an overwhelming bipartisan basis. That's a very good thing. And we're working every single day to move that assistance out to the Ukrainians who need it.
Absolutely, and I thank you for your leadership. I thank the Chairman McCall for his leadership in pushing the supplemental across. I'd like to look to the future. And you from day one, and the administration from day one has said, for example, in Ukraine, what does the future look like? And rebuilding. President Zelensky in our meeting thanked us for the Repo Act, for the freezing of Russian assets with a future of using those assets for rebuilding. Mm-hmm. We met with the American Chamber. They see the extraordinary need and opportunity. You said in your remarks in Kyiv just last week, I think it was, quote, "There is one more crucial step we can take, making Russia pay for Ukraine's recovery and reconstruction. What Putin destroyed, Russia should and must pay to rebuild. It's what international law demands. It's what the Ukrainian people deserve. Our Congress has given us the power to seize Russian assets in the United States. We intend to use it." End quote. Yes. What steps has the State Department taken toward making Russia pay for reconstruction in Ukraine? What plans does State have to use those authorities granted to it? How are you working with partner nations to unlock more money? And Zelensky the President spoke directly about this, that we are a model in use of the Repo Act, but we have $5 or $6 billion, whereas Europe is sitting on hundreds of billions.
That's right.
Can you tell us?
That's exactly right. First of all, I applaud the Repo Act and appreciate the leadership in getting that done. Second, we've been using that and using our diplomacy to rally other countries, particularly the countries where these assets are located. They're the ones who ultimately have to agree to this, to enable their use. Now, we've had, I think, one initial important step forward just a couple of days ago. The European Union has now agreed that the interest generated by the sovereign assets in Europe can be used and given to Ukraine to support and to rebuild. But what we'd like to see happen now is to find a way to, in one way or another, in effect, use the principle. And one of the things that we're looking at, and I hope that by the G7 meeting that the President will attend, we can make progress on that, is to, in effect, use the principle as collateral for a loan, a bond, that would generate significant monies now for Ukraine to help it get started on the rebuild.
I certainly hope so also. The principle must be used. Russia must pay for the rebuilding of Ukraine. And I know my colleague, Ms. Manning, asked you about the hostages. And I wear this. It was given to me by a hostage family. We all have met with many of the hostage families. I think of them every single day. I can't understand how the world has not come around and said, Hamas, you must release all of the hostages, living and dead. What's the clearest statement of where we stand with the hostage negotiations now?
Like you, I am determined every single day to get them back home, to get them with their families. And I know the families. I've met with them many times here in the United States and Israel, as is President Biden. And we have come close, I think, to reaching agreements that would get a ceasefire and the hostages released and hopefully start a process that moves to a more enduring peace and security for Israel, for the Palestinians. But In the most recent go-around on this, Hamas did not say yes to what I thought was a very generous and appropriate proposal coming from Israel. So we continue to be at it. CIA Director Bill Burns, myself, other White House officials, working on this, working with Qatar and Egypt. We continue to have officials who are talking about this, and we will continue to make the hardest possible run at it. But in this moment, unfortunately, we do not have the agreement that we should.
I thank you for your work. Godspeed, and bring home the hostages. Thank you.